Before dawn, Tehran woke to fire and chaos. In one night, Mossad and Israel's warplanes tore through Iran's skies, air defenses burned, missile silos vanished, and nuclear scientists were hunted in their own homes. Years of moles, smuggled parts, and double agents led to this moment. Rising Lion wasn't just an attack, it was a message. Israel can strike anywhere, and no one is untouchable. Israel's devastating June assault on Iran was not improvised. According to a ProPublica investigation, it was the culmination of years of espionage, infiltration, and clandestine recruitment. The Mossad, Israel's intelligence service, built an extensive network of Iranian dissidents and non-Iranian operatives, trained to sabotage Tehran's air defenses and nuclear program from within. Israeli pilots had been flying reconnaissance missions over Iran since 2016, mapping terrain and plotting undetectable routes deep into Iranian airspace. These flights laid the groundwork for a surprise offensive on June 13th, an assault that would cripple Iran's air defense network and assassinate key nuclear scientists. According to the report, at 3 a.m. on the first day of the war, Israeli warplanes struck hundreds of targets, including military installations and suspected nuclear facilities. On the ground, some 70 Mossad-trained commandos, most of them Iranians or from neighboring countries, launched synchronized attacks on anti-aircraft batteries and ballistic missile launchers. By the end of day 2, Israeli officials claimed 100% of the air defense targets assigned to Mossad were destroyed, including many around Tehran where Israeli jets had never before operated. The initial strikes killed hundreds, including 11 nuclear scientists tracked for months. Intelligence dossiers had mapped not only their daily routines, but even the location of their bedrooms, which were then targeted with precision missiles. The ProPublica report said that much of the groundwork for the June operation came from years of covert infiltration. Israeli operatives, sometimes posing as European technicians, had visited Iran's Natanz nuclear facility, collecting soil samples and double-soled shoes to detect uranium enrichment levels. Shipments of weapons components were smuggled into Iran through legitimate trade routes, often by unwitting truck drivers. Agents were recruited through promises of medical care abroad, overseas education, or cash payments. Some had personal grievances against Iran's clerical regime after imprisonment or torture by security forces. Once trained, often in Israel or third countries, they returned to Iran to await activation. One such operative, known only as ST, was a young Iranian student arrested and tortured by the Basi militia. His anger at the regime, coupled with a Mossad promise to fund treatment for a sick relative, pushed him into espionage. Trained for months by Israeli weapons specialists, ST was part of the June 13th assault on Tehran's air defenses. His story illustrates Mossad's reliance on non-Israeli operatives, a shift in policy over the past 15 years aimed at minimizing risk to Israeli personnel and capitalizing on domestic discontent in Iran. At 3 a.m. on June 13th, ST and a foreign legion of roughly 70 commandos opened fire with drones and missiles on a carefully chosen list of anti-aircraft batteries and ballistic missile launchers. The next day, another group of Iranians and others recruited from the region launched a second wave of attacks inside Iran. In detailed interviews with ProPublica, 10 present and former Israeli intelligence officials described the commando raids and a wealth of previously undisclosed details of the country's decades-long covert effort to prevent Iran from building a nuclear bomb. The officials said the commando attacks were pivotal in June's airstrikes, allowing Israel's Air Force to carry out wave after wave of bombing runs without losing a single plane. Informed by intelligence gathered by the Mossad's agents on the ground, Israeli warplanes pounded nuclear facilities, destroyed around half of Iran's 3,000 ballistic missiles and 80% of its launches, and fired missiles at the bedrooms of Iranian nuclear scientists and military commanders. As they had with the pager attack on Hezbollah on September 18, 2024 in Lebanon, Israeli spies took advantage of their ability to penetrate their adversaries' communication systems. Early in the aerial attack, Israeli cyber warriors sent a fake message to Iran's top military leaders, luring them to a phantom meeting in an underground bunker that was then demolished in a precision strike. 20 were killed, including 3 chiefs of staff. Mossad's methods in June built on a history of high-risk covert action. In 2018, Israeli agents stole over a ton of nuclear archives from a Tehran warehouse. In 2020, a remote-controlled, AI-guided machine gun killed a top Iranian physicist. In each case, Israel leveraged local operatives, smuggling networks, and deception. Recruitment often began online, with social media ads targeting Iranians in need of urgent medical care. The approach is consistent with Israel's decades-long doctrine to prevent hostile states from acquiring nuclear weapons, a doctrine that saw Iraq's reactor destroyed in 1981 and a Syrian reactor in 2007. The June campaign, dubbed Operation Rising Lion, was designed to strike over 1,000 targets in just over a week. Planning began in mid-2024, with Israeli officials emboldened by Donald Trump's return to the White House and the neutralization of Hezbollah's missile threat. Fordo, Iran's uranium enrichment plant buried inside a mountain, posed a unique challenge. Israel lacked a bomb powerful enough to penetrate it, leading planners to consider a commando raid, a plan ultimately deemed too risky by Mossad chief David Barnea. Instead, Israeli hopes rested partly on potential US involvement, using America's massive GBU-57 bunker buster bombs. Smuggling was key to Rising Lion. Iran's porous borders with 7 countries are alive with illicit trade, a fact Mossad exploited through networks of smugglers and front companies. Equipment could be hidden in safe houses for years, maintained until needed. The report said that, according to Israeli planners, they arranged for unwitting truck drivers to smuggle tons of metallic equipment, parts for weapons used by the commando teams, into Iran. After the surprise military campaign, Iranian media reported on several attack drone assembly production sites inside Iran set up by Israel. Sources told ProPublica that the agents who carried out the sabotage, breaking into safes, setting up machine guns, disabling air defenses, and monitoring the homes of nuclear scientists were not Israelis, but Iranians or citizens of third countries. On June 12th, 28 teams moved into position. By dawn on the 13th, strikes began. Some hit missile launches, delaying Iran's retaliatory barrage. Cyber operations also played a role. Israeli hackers sent fake messages to Iran's top military brass, luring them into a bunker that was then destroyed by precision bombing, killing 20 senior officers. Over 1,000 Iranians were reported killed in the conflict, including 786 military personnel and 276 civilians. Israel said it lost 30 civilians to Iranian missile strikes. Damage in Israel was estimated at $12 billion. Iran's Revolutionary Guards insist air defenses are now rebuilt and modernized, warning they would be stronger in any future conflict. However, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has claimed parts of Iran's nuclear program were rolled back. But US and Israeli intelligence sources suggest Tehran could return to nuclear threshold status within 2 years if it chose. While public focus remains on Gaza after the Hamas attacks of October 2023, the shadow war between Israel and Iran has been reshaping the region. Proponents of the June strikes say they removed an imminent nuclear threat. Critics warn they may have only hardened Iran's resolve to acquire a deterrent. General Tamir Heyman, former head of Israel's military intelligence, cautions that the assault, while a major setback, could accelerate Iran's determination to build a bomb. For now, the region faces a volatile new reality, one in which Israel has demonstrated deep penetration of Iran's security architecture, but the long-term consequences remain uncertain.